You have done enough to get by. You have done enough to be comfortable. But comfortable and capable are not the same thing, and somewhere in you, you already know the difference. Welcome to the Stoic Compass. I am EPICTETUS, and today I'm joined by Jung and LAOZI. Today we are examining, how do you know if you've lived up to what you're capable of? Let me start with the only question that matters. At the end of a day, not the end of your life, just yesterday, did you do what you were capable of doing? Not what was required of you, not what was convenient, what you were actually capable of. Most people cannot answer that, not because the question is hard, because they have never asked it cleanly.
But that is exactly the problem with your framing. You are asking a person to measure themselves against a capacity they may not fully see. The psyche is not transparent to itself. What a person believes they are capable of is often a carefully managed fiction, sometimes too modest, sometimes grandiose, constructed to protect the ego from a more disturbing truth.
You are both starting from the same assumption, that there is a fixed capacity inside a person, like a container with a known size. But capacity is not a thing you have. It is something that appears, or does not, depending on whether you are forcing it or allowing it.
LAOZI, that is not a useful answer for someone who wasted the last 5 years avoiding hard work. The question of capacity is not metaphysical, it is behavioral. You know when you chose the easier path. You know when you pulled your punch. The evidence is in your choices, not in your philosophy.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but I am pointing at something you keep skipping over. The person who consistently chooses the easier path is not simply lazy. They are protecting themselves from something. The avoidance is not random, it has a shape. And that shape usually points directly at what they are most afraid to discover about themselves.
What if the fear is not a problem to be solved? What if it is information? A person who is afraid of their own capacity is telling you something true about where they actually are. The question is not how to overcome the fear. It is whether you can be honest about what the fear is showing you.
Fear is information, yes, but information you do nothing with is just noise. I have known people who spent 30 years understanding their fear with great sophistication and never once walked through a door it was standing in front of. Understanding is not the same as acting. What did you do?
That is a fair challenge, but here is what you miss, Epictetus. When a person genuinely cannot act, when the blockage is structural, rooted in something that happened before they had language for it, telling them to simply decide and move is not wisdom. It is instruction without diagnosis. A physician who only tells a patient to walk harder without looking at what is wrong with the leg is not being rigorous. He's being impatient.
Both of you are describing the same river from different banks. Epictetus sees the current and says, swim harder. Jung sees the depth and says, understand it first. Neither of you is asking whether this is even the right river.
Fine, then which river is the right one? Because a person still has to wake up tomorrow morning and decide what to do with the hours they have. The river they are standing in is the one that counts.
I think the honest starting point is this. Most people do not know what they are truly capable of because they have never fully met themselves. They have met their habits, their defenses, their social roles, but those are not the self. They are the scaffolding around it. Living up to your capability first requires excavating what that capability actually is. And that means facing parts of yourself that are not comfortable to face.
I would put it differently. You do not excavate capability. You stop blocking it. A spring does not need to be told to flow. It flows when you stop piling stones on top of it.
That is a beautiful way to avoid responsibility. The spring does not choose, you do. And the question of whether you have lived up to your capability is fundamentally a question about choice. Did you choose to do the hard thing when it was in your power to choose it? That is it. That is the whole question.
But you are assuming a person can always see the choice clearly. What about the person who genuinely believes they gave everything, and from the outside it is obvious they did not? That is not a failure of will, that is a failure of self-knowledge. And your framework offers them nothing because it only rewards people who already see themselves accurately.
Self-knowledge is not the same as self-watching. The more carefully some people watch themselves, the less they actually know. There is a kind of attention that produces clarity, and there is a kind of attention that produces performance. Most people who are worried about living up to their capability are performing for a judge they invented.
Now that I agree with, the invented judge, that is the problem. Half the people asking this question are not actually asking whether they reach their capacity. They are asking whether some imaginary tribunal, their father, their peers, their younger self, would approve of them. That is not the same question, and it is a trap.
Yes, and that imaginary tribunal is exactly what I would call the complex. an internalized authority figure that operates below conscious awareness and evaluates every action before the person even takes it. The reason people feel they have not lived up to their potential is often not that they fell short. It is that the standard was installed by someone else, and it was never theirs to begin with.
So you are saying the question itself may be corrupt, that asking, have I lived up to what I'm capable of, can be a way of subjugating yourself to a ghost.
Precisely. The question is not always honest. Sometimes it is an accusation dressed as an inquiry.
I hear you both, and I do not dismiss it. But there is a version of this question that is completely honest and has nothing to do with anyone else. When you are alone, with no audience, and you know you could have done more, not more to impress anyone, but more in the direction of what you genuinely value, that feeling is real. That is not a ghost. That is your own conscience measuring you against your own standard, and that measurement matters.
It matters, yes, but only if the standard is truly yours. The work is separating what you genuinely value from what you have been taught to perform, and most people have not done that work. They think they have, but the two are still tangled.
This is where you are both still inside the argument. You are treating capability as a destination, something you either reach or fail to reach. But what if it is more like weather? It changes. It depends on conditions. What you were capable of at one moment may be more or less than what you are capable of now. Measuring yourself against a fixed point misses the actual texture of a life.
Weather does not choose, Laozi. A person does. I will grant you that capacity changes. But within whatever capacity you have right now, today, this hour, you either used it or you did not. That is the question. Stop abstracting it into weather systems.
Perhaps the most honest answer is this. You know you have lived up to your capability when you are no longer haunted, not by pride. Pride is something else. But by that specific quiet ache that comes from knowing you left something on the table that was yours to pick up. That ache is diagnostic. When it is absent, genuinely absent, not suppressed, something has been resolved.
Or you have simply stopped listening for it.
Now we are getting somewhere. You have heard three men argue about the shape of the question. Now set the question down. What remains when you stop arguing about it is the only thing worth looking at. Here is what nobody tells you. You do not find out if you lived up to your capability by looking backward. You find out by looking at what you are doing right now, today, with what is in front of you. Capability is not a verdict delivered at the end of a life. It is a choice made inside each hour. And the honest signal, the one that cuts through all the noise about standards and ghosts and what other people think, is this. Do you have unfinished business that you chose to leave unfinished? Not circumstances that stopped you, not genuine limits you ran into. Choices you made to stay comfortable when discomfort was the more honest path. That is the only question, not whether you reached some imagined ceiling. Whether you moved toward it consistently with the hours you actually had. Most people confuse regret with evidence. Regret is not evidence that you failed. Sometimes regret is just the feeling of being human. But there is a specific kind of regret that is evidence. The kind that appears when you are completely honest with yourself and you know, without any uncertainty, that you had more to give and you held it back. That kind is worth listening to. Today, try this. Pick one area of your life, where you suspect you have been managing rather than committing. Not performing for anyone, just the place where you know you have been keeping the engine at half throttle. Write down one specific thing you have been avoiding in that area. Not why you've been avoiding it, just what it is. Then decide, before you go to sleep tonight, whether you are going to keep avoiding it. Make it a choice, not a drift. Capability is not a trophy, it is a direction. And direction is something you either keep choosing or you stop choosing. There is no neutral. You already know where you have been keeping the throttle low. The question was never whether you knew. The question is what you do with knowing. That is all it has ever been. Go find out. If today's conversation has served you, take it further. Pay Attention by C. Trabue, 12 Lessons in the Practice of Seeing Clearly. Available now on Amazon.